Permit me, if you will, a very quick moment of Rachel Maddow Show amateur theater.
Democrats on first learning the news that Arlen Specter is leaving the Republican Party.
Woohoo! Woohoo! Specter's not a Republican anymore! Specter's not a Republican! Woohoo!
And now, Democrats 5 minutes after that initial realization sunk in.
Wait, Arlen Specter's a Democrat now? A Democrat? Isn't that kind of a stretch? Thank you. We're here all week. Thanks, Kent. It's true that Arlen Specter flipping parties, in theory, puts the Democrats one contested Minnesota Senate seat away from getting what they want in Congress, even in the event of a Republican filibuster. But to beat a filibuster, what Democrats need are 60 votes. Everyone voting the same way, not just 60 Democrats. If Democrats don't vote with their party, it doesn't matter how many seats they've got. What they're getting when they get Arlen Specter is another conservadem, a conservative Democrat who isn't necessarily pledged to the party's agenda.
I will not be an automatic 60th vote. I have always agreed with John Kennedy that sometimes party asks too much. And if the Democratic Party asks too much, I will not hesitate to disagree and vote my independent thinking.
Just look at Arlen Specter's positions on a few key big D Democratic issues. For example, how will Democrat Arlen Specter vote on the nomination of Dawn Johnson, President Obama's pick to head the Office of Legal Counsel? She's currently being blocked by Republicans in the Senate.
I'm opposed to the nominee for Assistant Attorney General in the Office of Legal Counsel, Dawn Johnson.
Okay. How about the party's important union legislation, the Employee Free Choice Act?
I think it is a bad bill, and I'm opposed to it and would not vote to invoke cloture.
Kind of sounds a lot like Arlen Specter Republican, doesn't it? And of course, this is the same senator who consistently voted against setting timetables in Iraq, who just this month voted against President Obama's budget, and who, even after making that critical crossover vote in favor of the stimulus, also voted for the GOP's mega anti-stimulus 5-year spending freeze. So losing Specter is clearly a big loss for the Republican Party. The question now, though, is whether it is the Democrats' gain. Joining us now is Senator Bob Casey, who I'm amazed to say is the other Democratic senator from Pennsylvania. Senator Casey, congratulations to you and your party on this news today.
Thank you, Rachel.
Do you think that Senator Specter is going to vote more like a Democrat now?
Well, look, if you look at his record overall on some of the issues the president's putting forth and going to confront, and we're all confronting, not only as senators but as Americans, the economy. Voting for the recovery bill was a very important vote for him. I also believe on health care, which is a major priority for me and for a lot of Democrats and a lot of people across the country. I think we'll get a lot of support there. There will be times when he and I disagree on the Employee Free Choice Act. I'm not only a supporter, but I'm a co-sponsor. But that legislation might change. And if it does change, I think we'd all work very hard to get his vote and a lot of other votes. But there's no way to predict how one senator is going to vote all the time. But I think overall, this is very good news for moving the president's agenda forward on the main thrust, the economy, education, health care, energy, all of those. And we welcome him to the party. I've known him a long time. We've worked together in our state on a lot of projects. So we're going to continue that working relationship. But I think overall, it moves the president's agenda forward.
If Senator Specter gets a Democratic primary challenge, if somebody like Congressman Patrick Murphy or Congressman Joe Sestak chooses to jump into a primary against Senator Specter, or even if it's the current declared Democrat in the race, Joseph Torsella, would you consider staying neutral in the primary or even consider supporting a challenger to Mr. Specter?
Well, I was asked today about the 2010 race, and I think it's a little premature. I hope we could come to a consensus. Even Democrats can do that once in a while, even Pennsylvania Democrats. When I was running, for example, in 2006, we had a primary, but it wasn't as intense as it could have been because the party came together. I hope we can have a consensus. The goal here is in January of 2011 to have 2 Democratic senators from Pennsylvania. I think we can achieve that.
Do you think that right now the Democratic Party and the Republican Party have fundamentally different ideas about tolerance of ideological diversion among their members? I mean, you yourself divert from party orthodoxy on the issue of choice, I know, and on some other issues, and that's been a major issue in your rise to the prominent position that you have now in the Democratic Party. Do you feel like Democrats and Republicans fundamentally disagree about how tightly their leaders need to hew to the party line?
I think there is a fundamental difference, but I also believe the Democrats have been more united than some might assert. On the big issues, for example, on the budget itself and on the recovery bill, we've had tremendous unanimity. That doesn't mean we're not going to have some who disagree, some who have a different point of view on individual votes. But overall, when you see the work that was done in the first 100 days, the children's health insurance legislation, Lilly Ledbetter, the recovery bill, the budget, overall I think that Democrats have had in the Senate significant consensus on the major issues, and I think Senator Specter will join that.
Senator Specter really lashed out today against Pennsylvanians who'd vote in a Republican primary, saying essentially that they'd been taken over by the extremes. Do you agree with him on that?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not an expert on their party, but you go across Pennsylvania, and even beyond Pennsylvania, just look what happens here in Washington. The Republican leadership position in Washington right now is not just no to now President Obama's agenda, and then when he was a candidate as Senator Obama, it wasn't just no, it was hell no. We're not supporting anything that this president stands for, and unfortunately, for their party, I think that's not a winning formula. President Obama and his agenda on health care, on energy, on the economy is very popular for a good reason. The American people voted for change, and he's doing very well on delivering that change, even in the midst of a terrible economy. Who would ever believe, even 6 months ago, I know I wouldn't have believed that if someone walked up to you and said, in the middle of this economy, because we have a president leading us, the right direction number is going to be higher than the wrong track number in the polling. It's extraordinary, and I have to give the president most of the credit for that. But I believe that if there's one message on their side, it's stop President Obama, and I think that is not a strategy that will serve them well over time.
Senator Bob Casey, Democrat of Pennsylvania.